G'day everybody and welcome back to my brand new video here on the YouTube channel. Today I'll be informing you guys what the best games from each individual AFL round for the 2024 AFL season was. Now if you guys do go on to enjoy this video, so please show me that by liking the video as well as subscribing to the channel if you guys are new. Enough wasting your time, let's get straight into it. Starting off with opening round, the best game was Brisbane vs Carlton. Only 4 games took place during this round, but this one was easily the best of the bunch. And the reasoning behind that is because this is the only game that was decided by a margin under 20 points. In fact, the margin was as low gets, as the margin was 1 point in total. And that was with Harry Mackay kicking the winning goal for Carlton. Moving on to round 1 is Carlton v Richmond. This was the first time we got to see the Tigers play this year, and we really didn't know what to expect after this game. Richmond led for longer, but Carlton managed to win 2 thrillers in a row, this time by 5 points. With 15 minutes to go in the final quarter, De Koning put the Blues up by 3 points, and that was all they needed and just held on for the remainder of the game. Sydney v Essendon was the best game of round 2, and this is why. This round of football didn't really have too many close games. In fact, the closest game of the round was Saints v Collingwood. But the reason I have Sydney v Essendon being the best game of the round is the fact that there was just constant goals being scored, and both teams scored over 100, but the margin ended up being 30 points. And although Collingwood v St Kilda was a closer game, the game was over at 3/4 time for the Pies. They just managed to make it a closer margin in the end. Round 3, I have Saints v Essendon. This was a close game pretty much from start to finish. The Saints went into the 4th quarter with a lead, but with 6 minutes to go in the final quarter, Jake Stringer kicked a goal and they were able to hold on from there. This game was also where we got to see Nick Martin reach 44 disposals and easily got best on ground. Moving on to gather round is Geelong v Bulldogs. Obviously this game took place at the Adelaide Oval, so neither team actually had the advantage. And with 1 minute to go in the final quarter, Williams scored a goal to bring the margin to 4 points. But there just wasn't enough time for the Dogs to get another goal, and then the Cats started the season 4-0. Carlton v Adelaide was the best game of the round the very next week in round 5. This was actually a decently big upset for the Crows, considering they had not won a game all season and the Blues had started the season 4-0. It looked like Carlton were going to win the game, but that was until with under a minute to go, Berry slotted a goal to win the game for the Crows. And it just doesn't get better than a high-scoring close game, and that's exactly what this game was. Moving on to round 6 is Adelaide v Essendon. That's right, Essendon play a major part in a lot of this year's AFL thrillers. And although Essendon led for majority of the game, it was still very close and contested throughout. And Nick Martin slotted a goal to put Essendon in front with 8 minutes to go, and surprisingly that was the winning goal. But this is one of the most controversial wins of the season, as Sam Draper laid on the ball towards the end of the game where a free kick should have been paid to the Adelaide Crows, and they would have been given a shot after the siren inside their 50 to potentially win the game. Round 7, we saw the Anzac Day clash be one of the best games of the round. It's always a good game between Essendon and Collingwood on Anzac Day, well at least majority of the time it is. This game had some great moments, with Jamie Elliott getting a Mark of the Year contender, as well as Zach Merritt's Anzac Day medal performance. Kyle Langford was given a shot on goal towards the end of the game, and if he scored they would have won the game, but he missed, got 1 point added to their name, and the scores were 90-90, and that was the final scores of the game, and it ended up being a draw. Round 8 is another Collingwood game, this time Collingwood v Carlton. No surprise that this is the best game of the round, as Collingwood v Carlton is always a good game, and this is easily one of the best rivalries the AFL has. After the Blues scored a goal with just 4 minutes to go, things weren't looking good for the Collingwood Magpies going into the rest of the game. But with 1 minute to go, Nick Dacos scored a right foot snap to win the game for Collingwood. Round 9, we saw Adelaide take on the Brisbane Lions, and that was easily the best game of the round, and this is why. The Lions weren't having the greatest start to the season at this point, as they did sit at 13th on the ladder, but the Crows only sat 1 spot higher, being 12th. And with 1 minute 40 to go on the clock, Jordan Dawson was given the opportunity to win the game for the Adelaide Crows, but missed, and then this game ended in a draw also. Round 10 is Port Adelaide v Hawthorn. At this point in time, the Hawks were contending for the wooden spoon, and that obviously wasn't the case as they went on to make finals this year. Going into the final quarter, the Hawks had a 28-point lead, and their chances of winning was nearly certain. And with 22 seconds left on the clock, the Port Adelaide Power had just scored a goal, and they were now 5 points down, meaning that a good clearance from the Port Adelaide Power could potentially win them the game. That's exactly what happened, as Darcy Byrne-Jones scored a soccer goal off the ground and won the game for Port Adelaide with 2 seconds to go on the clock. Round 11, we saw the Geelong Cats take on the GWS Giants. This game ended up being a 4-point thriller in the end, after the Giants won the game after leading for longer. And surprisingly, Toby Green scored the winning goal with 7 minutes to go. And the reason that this is very surprising is the fact that it was a very high scoring game and there was just constant goals happening. Yet no team could find themselves a goal in the final 7 minutes. Round 12 was Gold Coast v Essendon. But once again, there wasn't really too many great games during this round. The margin was roughly 11 points at the end, and the Gold Coast Suns went on to win the game and were undefeated at People's First Stadium at this point in time. And it was really just around the same margin all game, pretty much around the 12-11 point mark, which has just sort of made it a bit boring as no team could really take that lead. Round 13 was Hawks v GWS. This game took place at UTAS, and we know just how well the Hawks play at UTAS. And as the Hawks were slowly rising on the ladder and the Giants were slowly dropping, we really did not know how this game would go. And with 59 seconds to go in the game, Luke Bruce put 6 more points to the Hawks' name, and that was all they needed to go on and win the game. Round 14, I'd arguably say that this was not the best game of the round, but was the best game of the year, being North Melbourne v Collingwood, as the Pies were 54 points down early in the third quarter and went on to come back and win the game, which is the 7th biggest comeback in AFL history. And this was also the game where we saw Bobby Hill take this amazing grab and went on to win Mark of the Year. This was also another controversial win, as North Melbourne were deserving of a 50 towards the end of the game, where they could have potentially scored a goal after the siren to win the game. Round 15 is another game between North Melbourne, but this time against Melbourne. I know it's not great. North Melbourne lost 2 thrillers in a row, but this time by 3 points. And despite it being a close game, North Melbourne didn't even take the lead for a single second throughout the game. And Melbourne won the game with a scare late in the fourth quarter. Round 16 was Sydney v Fremantle, also the first game that we saw Sydney lose since against Richmond earlier in the year. But up until this game, Sydney were undefeated at the SCG. The Swans did not lead once this game, but Logan McDonald was given a shot after the siren to potentially win the game for the Swans, and all he needed to do was score to tie the scores and kick a goal to win the game. But as he was 55 metres out, there was no guarantee that he would kick this goal, but it's Logan McDonald. He's one of their best forwards, and if there was anyone who was going to kick it, it's probably him. But unfortunately, he shanked the kick, and Fremantle defeated the Sydney Swans at the SCG by a margin of 1 point. Another Sydney game is up next, being round 17 against the Saints. At this point in time, people were saying that this is the biggest upset of the year, and I'd say that's pretty spot on. The reason behind that is the fact that the Swans sat at first on the ladder with 13 wins, and the Saints sat at 15th on the ladder with only 5 wins. And with 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, Higgins scored a goal to put the Saints up by 2 points. And funnily enough, Logan McDonald was given a shot on goal late in the fourth quarter to potentially win the games, but lost the game for them yet again. Round 18 is Hawthorn v Fremantle. Although this game wasn't necessarily a game that came down to the final wire, it was still a massive win for the Hawthorn Hawks, as they were rising up to the 8s and potentially going to make finals, and needed to win this game if they wanted to make the finals. And after the Hawks took the lead midway through the fourth quarter, they went on to win the game. In fact, Fremantle led for longer in that game, but still could not hold on to that win. Round 19, we saw Adelaide v Essendon take each other on yet again, and this time was an absolute thriller yet again. Essendon was slowly starting to fall down the ladder at this point in time, and as the ladder was very, very close towards the end of the season, they needed to win this game to ensure their finals chances. As Essendon was 6th on the ladder and Adelaide were 14th on the ladder, this is just a win that they couldn't let go. But after Joshua Shelley slotted a goal in the dying moment, Essendon went on to lose the game, and their finals chances were becoming more and more slim. Round 20, the biggest thriller was Melbourne v GWS, which actually didn't have that much of a turnout crowd-wise. Melbourne led for pretty much 3/4 of this game and still went on to lose. And regardless of where it was being played, which was the MCG, you're not beating the GWS when Jesse Hogan is kicking 4 goals. Not only that, but Finn Callaghan racking up 36 disposals. That is just insane. But the Giants had a comfortable lead halfway through the fourth quarter, and despite the game being close, there was really never a world where the Giants lost the game by that final siren. Round 21, we saw the return of Collingwood v Carlton. That's right, this is the second time I'm mentioning these two teams matching up against each other, and that just proves how big this rivalry is. The last time these two teams faced off was when Nick Dacos slotted an amazing goal in the dying moments to win the game for the Pies. This time it was playing at the MCG as it was last time, but this time on Scott Penderbury's 400th game. And the Pies had been quite on a losing streak until the week before, where they bet the Richmond Tigers, and as their finals chances were getting smaller and smaller, this was a must win for them. And although Mr. McGovern was given a shot on goal on the siren, he still missed the goal and the Pies won the game. Moving on to the final 3 games, we've got North v West Coast in round 22. Both these teams had been pretty similar skill-wise all season, as they were both guaranteed to finish in the bottom 4. And as North Melbourne bet the West Coast Eagles the last time these two teams faced off, West Coast were hoping to strike revenge. With 1:40 to go in the fourth quarter, the Eagles were 13 points down, meaning they needed 3 goals to win the game. It started with Oscar Allen kicking a goal to bring the margin to 7 points. Then Jamie Cripps scored a goal with 1 minute to go on the clock and brought the margin to 1 point. And after all hope was lost, Oscar Allen scored a goal to win the game for the West Coast Eagles with 20 seconds to go. Round 23, we saw the grand final matchup, Collingwood v Brisbane at the MCG. The Pies were on quite a winning streak and so were the Brisbane Lions. But this was a must win for the Pies to keep their finals chances alive. And the Brisbane Lions needed to win this game to pretty much ensure their spot in the top 4, which means both these teams had a lot to play for. The Pies were 17 points down with 4 minutes to go and their chances of winning the game were very, very low. That was until Lachie Schultz scored this goal and brought the margin to 11 points. And just moments later, Lachie Schultz scored what I'd arguably say his best goal of the season and brought the margin to 5 points. And with 2 minutes 45 left on the clock, Bo McCreary scored the winning goal out of a ruck contest, and that's all they needed to win the game by 1 point. And the final game that I've got for you is Carlton v Saints in the round 24 clash. This seemed like it would be a pretty simple win for the Carlton Blues, especially since they had something to play for and the Saints didn't. And after Jack Higgins scored this absolute classic in the dying moments, they went on to win the game by 2 points. Meaning that if Fremantle won their next game against Port Adelaide, they would eliminate any chance of Carlton making finals and Fremantle would make finals. Spoiler, Fremantle lost the game by 20 points. Alrighty, and that is it for this video. I'd like to thank you all for tuning into this video, and I'd just like to acknowledge the fact that Jade Tomo memberships are officially out on the channel, so if you'd like to become a member, the link to do that will be in the description, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.